Stop challenging me to bullet chess. I hate you. Go away. Okay. Hi, YouTube. So, played in a tournament, and it was Fide rated. You wouldn't know it by the round times and the time control, but it was. We drove to New Mexico, and we took the dog with us. It was nice. I know it's not YouTube, it's Twitch. Alright, I'm not gonna- Don't talk to the chat. This is YouTube video. Okay, cut that out. Cut. Okay, okay, so round 1, I was paired with a 1600, and, you'll notice a bit of a theme in my games with black. They were all Londons. So I had 3 Londons. 3 out of 5 of my games were Londons. Good stuff. Round number 1. Do I have context to share? I don't think so. Anyway. Alright. So I played knight f6, which was a move where basically I was not sure I wanted to play d5 because I just don't know it very well. And I was at a point where I kind of wanted to gain rating points over learning. And I kind of decided because it's Fide, winning over learning just for this tournament, because I hardly ever get to play in Fide tournaments, so I wanted to play stuff I knew. And then she played knight f3, or I thought she played bishop f4. Maybe she did not. Well, anyway, I kind of changed my mind and I played d5 anyway. I don't know. I think I was like, no, I can do it. It's a 1600. If I can't beat a 1600, just playing chess, just normal chess without theory, then I'm probably not very good. So it was a London, and I did not remember. I was out of theory at this point. I remembered some ideas, and by some I mean do this, and then like if they take, you take with the queen, you go back, and their pawns are weird. That's all I remembered. It should be enough. I played e6, e3. Bishop d6 is fine. It's not correct. I think from now on, I'm gonna be playing c5 here, or at least here. I thought this was very strange to just immediately take on d6. I mean, I thought this was the thing to do, but she immediately took on d6. My opponent was moving very fast and instantly, slamming the pieces down like I was an asshole, which I love. But, so she traded the bishops and put her pawns on dark squares because she got rid of her dark squared bishop. Makes sense. I castled my king. My king is now safe. She's developing more pieces in a London fashion. I play knight d7, so there's 2 breaks I could go for here. There's c5 and there's e5. Both are fine and good. I thought e5 made a little bit more sense and just have a very solid structure and get my bishop out. I can play c5 right here, or I can prepare it, but I don't know. It's a matter of taste, I think, at this point. Knight d7 is good. Bishop d3, e5, and the problem here is I put my queen on the wrong square. Yes, game 90, 30-second increment. So the reason you wouldn't know that it's a Fide tournament is because they had us play 3 game 90, 30-second increments in one day, starting at 9 AM, and then the next round, the next day, was also at 9 AM. And for some of us, we did not finish our games until like 9 or 10 PM. So it was awesome. Good stuff. Okay, so queen e6, e7 or queen d6 are the 2 moves. Nothing else makes sense. I think I chose the wrong square. So I think I liked this move because it was just, I wanted to play rook e8. My queen is kind of in the way. I wanted two guys on each file here. But the problem is when I play c5 here, I have to be careful. Like I can never play c4 at the wrong time, because after rook d1, c4 fails to bishop takes c4. So the queen is just a little bit loose and weird here, so it would be better on e7. Yeah, the reason I'm playing c5 is I'm just taking control over the center. Kind of based and principle pilled or something. So now that she puts her rook on d1, it makes sense to pin the knight to it. With bishop g4, almost all my pieces are developed. We can put our rooks in the center now. Bishop e2 might seem weird to some people, but I think it's the best move because letting me double these pawns is actually not that great for her because her king is still in the center. She gets the g file, but there's no attack. I really thought there was a good chance that that would happen, but bishop e2 is good. So right now, since my queen is bishop e2 will also kind of unleash the rook a little bit, and I don't really want a rook and a queen on the same file. So I have to move my queen somewhere. Again, I choose wrong. I should still put it on e7. But for some reason, I was very intrigued by the idea of sacrificing something on e3 at some point. Which, okay, I just have a bad brain. But it happens, okay? And I don't know. The queen is kind of glued to the b pawn. And I'm out of the way for both rooks. I don't think queen b6 is bad, it's just a little bit goofy looking there. It just looks kind of like a silly guy. But it's fine, it's not a bad move. Castles, and now a plan needs to be made. So I could just put the rooks in the center and then make a plan. That's totally fine. But I was kind of looking for a good place to put my knight, and what I wanted to do, best case scenario, would be at some point play these moves in some order. c4, controlling the d3 square, g6 to allow bishop f5, further controlling the d3 square. I don't know if I said 6 or 3. And then I want to reroute my knight to c5 via d7 or e4 to c5, and then eventually just slam something down on the d3 square. I don't know what other plan I would have. I think that seems pretty reasonable. It's fine. You know, it's fine. So my opponent, 1600s sometimes go into a mode which we refer to as trade, lose machine. And that did describe my opponent's play very well, I think. And by that I mean, people at a level sometimes assume that trading pieces means equal and endgames are draw. This is not correct, but some people just, for some reason, think when there are fewer pieces on the board, it's more simple. It's not. So my opponent decided to offer a trade of bishops with me, to which I said yes, please, because the only weaknesses in the position are on light squares. And so you give me your light squared bishop, and now I'm gonna get a knight up in there, you know? Try not to be mean. Listen. I don't consider it mean, but I can see how some people would get their feelings hurt. You know? But here's the thing. So I play rook fe8. She has to move a piece backwards. So she's moved this piece twice. She's moved this piece twice. And now I put my other rook in the center. And what has my opponent accomplished by trading the light squared bishops, except for allow me to develop with tempo? Nothing, really. So now with the rooks in the center, I'm supporting a d4 break, especially with the queen on e2 because of the pins. So it makes sense to play queen c2 here, but she's moving a piece that she's already moved again. So I have what we call a time advantage and not one on the clock. So now the plan is this. So we play knight e4, knight d2. So we're moving the knight again, which is weird. I really don't want to trade my good knight for that bad one. And knight d2 just doesn't make any sense. So something that is very important to understand about this type of structure a lot of the time is we're going to have an exchange of squares. So when I play c4, I am going to gain the d3 square, but I will actually be losing the d4 square. So I'll get a good square for my knight, and my opponent will also get a good square. My square is better, but you can't just let me have the good square and not get anything in return. So that is why knight d2 is stupid and bad. Now, the knight is now also blocking the rook, and I can smell a gimp suit brewing. The knight sucks here. It wants to go back, but I don't want to allow my opponent to just move the knight back and forth forever. So I played knight g5, which is interesting move. My point is that, you know, no knight f3 for you, because I take you. And my thinking also was, I thought she should probably play h4, but I also thought I very much like it when my 1600 rated opponents push pawns in front of their kings. I mean, you can always push it to h5, and it's fine. It's like an equal exchange of nothing. But I always liked knight g5 is one of those my opponent is 1600 moves. Yeah. I think h4 is definitely what you have to do here, because otherwise you just kind of wiggle around in the gimp suit for a while, and then I maneuver my pieces and I get you. So my opponent played rook e1, which is a reasonable chess move. Now, I'm considering 3 different moves here, and I chose the worst one. So the moves are h5, f5, and c4. Why did I make that a different color? So what is chat like? There are other good moves. f6. Incorrect! c4 is explosive, that's all I know. c5 is illegal. We only have 50% illegal moves in the chat, so that's pretty good for you guys. I think you're doing great. f9! Okay, so what do these moves do? Alright, so c4 is just going in with the plan, right? I'm getting my square. There's nothing wrong with this move. It's just a move that's committal, and I don't have to play it right now. I can wait. Because at some point, I might not want to play c4. I might want to play d4 even sometimes. So why do this? Why rush? So that is why not c4, although it's fine. Rook e6 is a terrible chess move. One of the worst I've ever seen. Because now h4, I cannot go to e6. And I am forced to go to e4. And now you get to trade with me. And now your stupid knight on d2 is gone. And my good knight is thankfully this is defended. No more good knight for me. I mean, listen. If white couldn't just do this, maybe I'd like black here, but because they can. So it's down to these 2 moves. One of them is the best move, and one of them is the move that I played. My feelings are hurt, and I didn't make a suggestion. Well, Chess Dennis. So Inverted Scuba likes f5, and so he is probably around my strength in chess because I played f5. So the thing with f5 is that it's kind of impossible to see like the long-term disadvantages of it unless you're good at chess. So that was an uphill battle for me already. h5 was actually my first instinct, but I was like, I don't know, I mean h4, like what? It felt pointless to me. I don't really get why the computer likes it more than f5, actually, if I'm being quite honest. I mean, in another position, if she had played h4 earlier, she gets a tempo and maybe she gets to play h5, and maybe the whole point is that no h5 for you, and that's it. Maybe that's what it is. It makes sense. It makes sense. So the problem with f5, worst move on the board, except for like 30 other ones. It seems like it makes a lot of sense, okay? Because if I'm gonna have to put my knight on e4, it'll be cool to have a really big center. Also, the main idea is f4 to f3, and it kind of justifies my queen being on b6 if I also combine it with c4, and I'm just attacking on these dark squares. This was my thinking. But she should really just do this and play knight f3. What was the line Josh was saying, actually? Don't remember. Oh yeah, so Josh liked f4 here, which was like really shocking for me that he would like that. But cause why weaken this more, you know? But again, it's another exchange of squares, so I permanently get the e4 square, but now my opponent gets the e5 square, and it's really hard to make progress here. It's kind of interesting. And then the line continued something like this. And I said I liked my position here, but I did agree that this is better than what happened. So it's interesting. That was an interesting Josh move. So anyway, f5, central control. My opponent would like to trade the queens, and I said, no you. She said, take my queen, and I said, no you. And she's like, okay, never mind, which is weird. Definitely take that, I think. It's like, I don't know, I do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, but, you know, you do this. Oops, not that. You do this. With the queens off, it's not bad at all to play knight f3, because after, you know, takes, it's just, I can't get in with my rooks, because even if I get my rook over to the a file, a3 happens, and there's just no progress to be made, because b4 is not a break I'm going to get in. So maybe even white is better there, because white doesn't seem to have any weaknesses anymore, and I still have the d-pawn as a weakness. Also, my doubled pawns could be considered weaknesses, but I don't think they will be. I think this is just draw. White is on the better side of equality. I didn't know all that in the game, obviously, or I wouldn't have played c4. I don't know, I was like squares, I don't know. But my opponent decided not to trade the queens. So now notice how many back and forth moves these two pieces have had. That's a bad sign. Well, okay, rook a4 to prepare b4. I mean, he still just plays a3 and takes it. But anyway, I played queen e6, and I would like to get in there with my queen, or like do this. Or, I don't know. I had ideas attached. I don't really remember. I played so much chess. Knight f3. That was a big shocker. So this is critical position in the game. A position I did not spend nearly enough time on. I only thought for 2 minutes here, and this is, like, I would say the most critical point in the game so far. So, do we take this knight or do we not? Just take it. Incorrect! Trade, lose. Okay, so now we're saying no, because I already said it was incorrect to take it. So go Twitch chat. So here's the fucking weird thing, right? I completely underestimated her defensive ideas, I suppose. I kind of just was like, I don't know, your pawns are fucked, man. I don't know what to tell you. But the thing is, she's just gonna play rook d4, and then I can't ever make a break. Anyway. Yeah, also e4 could be a thing, like if it's prepared enough, if the rooks are doubled. I don't want to foreshadow anything, but it needs to be prepared. Okay? So it's stupid because I never actually have any f4 ideas that work. I played b5 here. This doesn't really lead anything because of queen d2. I mean, like, if you take, you mean you have stupid pawns, and I probably just go for this endgame, and I would have been very happy here. Maybe my pawns are a little bit too overextended, so I can't win, because they just have too many weaknesses. But I do like black here, with my 2 rooks, and then this Irish pawn chain, as we call it. So, that was my initial intention. Then I realized that, like, this move kills everything, and, okay, I take it, but even this is something I looked at with Josh. Queen g5 is very, very annoying. And it still feels like black should be better until we realize that I have to play queen d7 to defend my pawn, because I have to keep defending all this. Or I have to just let the pawn go. And then, I don't know, white just makes progress and I can't. So white is better here. Hey, listen, I learned that from Brian Wall, and he is an Irish, half Irish man. So take it up with him, I don't know. I never thought it was, I just thought it was what it was called. Go Brian Wall. Okay. It's because the pawns are drunk or something. Okay. Is that racist? I don't know. Anyway, cut that out. Cut. Okay. b5. Expanding on the queen side. Because b5 I was, like, kind of sad at this point. I felt like I had completely ruined my advantage, which I did. White is better, actually. I thought it was equal, but white is actually better, which I found a bit surprising. I mean, what? I didn't see how white has a plan either. I mean, this is pretty hard to prepare without your king becoming open. I mean, I could have a perpetual against a 1600. That would be a good result. So rook d4 is very good move. I almost lashed out and played like a move like g5 and, you know, just went crazy. But I've been trying to not be such a mental case at the board. It hasn't worked. I think I was more of a mental case this tournament than I have been in years. But I'm trying. You know, it's just hard. g5 is probably not correct. I just decided to keep making moves that will be useful in the endgame. So, okay, so here's something that I've been doing that is not good. I have been really taking static positional elements too much into consideration. That was a bad sentence, but because I've been studying the endgame so much, it's like 90% of the chess work I've been doing is endgames. And I never considered things like pawn structures before I was doing that. I mean, not never, but not as much. It's like a full 180 from never thinking about it to it's like the main thing I think about. So the main thing I'm thinking about right now is I think I win this king and pawn endgame, especially if my pawns are advanced, and I can also see some sort of breakthrough happening on this side of the board if we know anything about endgames. Just saying. A little bit of a foreshadowing situation here. So that is why we are expanding on the queen side. Rook e to d1 is a very normal, natural, good move. rook d7, I have to defend my pawn. So, king h1, I assumed the point was that she wanted to play e4, but she didn't like that I give the check here, which I agree. That's bad. It's not really a good square. Like, if you go to h1, I play, like, rook f7, maybe? Or, not rook f... I could even play rook d to e7, you know? Just take here. I think that's what I would do. So, that is why she plays king h1. But what king h1 also does is make me understand that she really wants to play e4. So, obviously, I have to spend time considering it. So, here I calculated till the end of the game, kind of. I need to know how much time I had and how much time my opponent had. So my opponent had 71 minutes and I had 25. Making Sarah stop and think. So, okay, the most natural obvious move is rook e to d8, but I do really need to look at e4. Because if it works, I mean, you know, it's good. So, rook d8, e4. D takes, and if she just trades everything and recaptures, and I recapture, and then we take, her queen is more active than mine. It seems like it might be equal, but I still think that's just good for black because of how good the c-pawn is. However, I saw that, you know, I have a bit of an intermezzo, if you will, which I saw miles ahead, you know. So you play rook d8. e4, let's give that a double question mark. Bad move. And here is where we see the trade lose mode in full effect. So I trade a pawn, and now it is possible for rooks to trade, so it will happen. Again, possible. Takes on e4, and yeah, I don't know, pause the video here if you want to find it. It's pretty obvious, but there's a big problem with this. That's all I'll say. Queen d4 is incorrect. So close. Yes, queen d3. Brutal move. So the queen is almost checkmated. It has to go to c1 or it has to take, which is obviously bad because the king is outside the square of the pawn. So he cannot catch it. Alright, so my opponent was not happy with that and played queen c1. Listen, even if I don't have queen d3, like, I don't know, something like this, I still like black. Just my pawn structure is better. But yeah, black is completely winning at this point. Queen c1, I take with check. I wasn't sure which one to take with, but I liked this idea of just shoving the f-pawn down there and giving checkmate. So my opponent plays queen d1, going for check. I play f3, going for checkmate. My opponent gives one check, two checks, and now it's almost mate because it's 3 check, but it's not, because why would you trade queens here? And this is just a dead lost king and pawn endgame. I don't know why you would do this, but it's a trade, so we do it. So okay, this position, extremely simple, easy position. You could just go do that and pick up this pawn and be winning. But can I win without the king? Endgame study, go. I need moves because this was all calculated. No one has found the idea. b4, c3, b takes c3, and then you take and you're winning. So my opponent is not going to do that though. My opponent is going to use the king. So if you play b4, king f1, c3, takes, king e1, what are you doing? Because I'm just doing this now. You're probably still winning, I think. But king assistance is needed. a4. So yes, if a4 were in, and after c3, if we take, then we have b3, and if takes again, we have a3. So this is what I saw. And the king is just far away enough for this to work. So a4, king e1, c3, and now if we play b takes c3, b3, and I'm threatening to play b takes a2. If I had to push, it wouldn't work because of this. But because I'm threatening to take on a2, it works, so I'm making this threat. So you have to take again. I don't take because the king would get inside the square. Instead I play a3, and you're just slow enough that it works. So that would be, well, it could happen, you know. My opponent played b3, which is equally bad. And in this case, I do need my king. But, I mean, this is pretty simple stuff. So we have a classic, whatever this is called. I just need to make it so she has no other legal moves besides moving her king. And then she resigned. Well, I mean, they're legal, but they're bad. So I could also just play c2 and take, but I think this is worse. And then play h4. And then c2 takes, and then this is another situation with this type of thing. So there you go. That is how you win in the endgame, when your opponent voluntarily trades into a lost endgame. Right, but I was thinking of a more specific term than opposition. Thank you, chat. What is opposition? I've never heard this term before. I tell my students that opposition is the most important rule of chess and also life, because it's true. I gained 9 rating points. Anyway. Still not an expert, by the way.